Michelle, thank you very much for being with us. You track commodities, you track shipping. It's a time of enormous change. Give us a sense of what trends you've been seeing and how they may play out over the next, say, 2 or 3 years.
Such a great question. Really, the trend started changing in 2022 during Russia-Ukraine. So when Europe started changing their energy flows, Russia changed their energy flows. So whereas Brazil used to not take any diesel from Russia, they started taking diesel from Russia. And energy flows started to become less efficient as everyone started transitioning and as the market started to settle down. European energy started coming more from the United States than from Russia, so you had longer haul, and they started importing more from West Africa. So you started to see energy flows change in that direction. Now we're seeing energy flows shift again with Middle Eastern crisis. It's hard because you can't replace 12 million barrels a day of oil. I mean, you just can't. There's no possible way to replace that in any quick amount of time. You have started seeing China, which hadn't bought any U.S. crude for 2 years, bought a tanker from the U.S. So you're starting to see countries that can buy and can pay for energy to source it from far away places because shipping is high and supply is really limited. I think that once this war is over and the strait does open up, you're going to see a lot of infrastructure being built in the Middle East to take everything away from the strait. So right now the Saudis have a pipeline that takes flows to the Red Sea so that they can export out. But I anticipate that we'll see the Saudis build even more infrastructure to avoid the strait, and Iraq will build more infrastructure. The UAE will build more infrastructure. Everyone will start building more infrastructure to move things away from the strait, which means that trade flows will start to change again.
Right, but that's energy security. But also, will there be a shift or an increasing shift to renewable energy or non-fossil fuel energy, and what impact will that have on trade?
Yeah, well, there already is a boom in energy demand due to AI generation and all of the new data centers that are being sent. So the talk about energy security has started to be on the forefront even before the war had happened. And everyone knew that China had transitioned from they had transitioned into more of an electrified economy, whereas the U.S. is heavy in fossil fuels. Most of the world is heavy in fossil fuels. So now that there's an energy security crisis, everyone's going to be trying to look for alternative energies, whether it's going to be solar or wind or nuclear or fusion. And China is the leader in solar and wind and technology, which means that I anticipate that we'll see more of that being exported out of China, and more countries will become more dependent on China when it comes to sourcing very quick and alternative sources of energy.
So be clear that China will benefit in terms of exports of its green tech because of the crisis in the Middle East and the need to secure energy for different countries.
Yeah, that's what I anticipate.
What about shipping? Because shipping costs have clearly gone up because of the general issue, because of the issues in the Middle East. Do you expect shipping costs and the increased insurance that goes with it to drive shifts in trade?
No. And the reason why I say no is because if shipping costs were important to global trade, we wouldn't have seen a big shift during Russia-Ukraine. And at the time, shipping costs were less urgent, whereas security of energy was more important. And I think security of energy is going to become more important to people than price. And so while freight rates will remain high because of insurance, they'll remain high because inefficient flows just create expensive freight. We're going to continue to see countries prioritizing over cost, prioritizing energy security over cost.
Finally, are we at the beginning of a complete reshaping or profound reshaping of global trade?
I think we are. Because what you have seen with the Strait of Hormuz is you have seen countries that depend on other countries for energy security fall apart. So for example, China, the minute that the Strait of Hormuz was closed, China closed their borders. And they said, okay, well, we know the Philippines are receiving gasoline from us, but we're not going to send any more gasoline because we're going to use it to meet our local demand, which put the Philippines at risk. And then it put Thailand at risk. And it put all of that all of China's neighbors at risk because China's neighbors were importing from them. So they need to find a reliable supplier. The reliable supplier to them will be the United States, right? And so one of the things that's going to be very important is if this conflict continues on, if the U.S. closes their borders. And if the U.S. closes their borders and they become an unreliable partner, then you're going to start to see the reliable partners rise up. And if that happens and China steps in as a reliable partner, right now they're showing up as at least a responsible partner, a responsible ally to world trade, that if they step up, and the U.S. becomes an unreliable partner, people won't want to trade with the United States. So right now, the United States is seen as a reliable partner. They'll be able to meet their needs. So that's one thing to watch as this conflict continues to unfold. I think that we're going to start to see global trade also when it also comes to like food security. So right now, fertilizer is a big issue. I did an analysis and it showed that the biggest country, the number one country at risk of food insecurity was Egypt. And that the reason why that's really important, other than the fact that a lot of people live in Egypt and food insecurity is a big deal, is that the last time we saw food insecurity as a problem in North Africa was during the Arab Spring. And so are we going to see that happen? If we do see that happen, those Northern African countries export a lot of oil. So then will they be seen as unreliable partners? And I think that right now, in a world that has started to see security as a threat, whether it's energy security, whether it's food security, we are going to start to see global trade move to partners that are going to be reliable, stable partners.
I must leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.